And here we are at Dodgy's Bits and Pieces, and today we're going to make our first batch for the year of Elderflower champagne. You're going to need to get yourself something to measure some water and some scales to measure your sugar. For the sugars, you can just use a variety of things. I've got some coconut sugar there, I've got brown sugar. Kind of just use everything that's around the house. There's a muscovado sugar, and just good old plain white sugar works for this brew fine. It's nothing fancy. For this, I bottle it up in just cheap bottles like that. It's got a lot of pressure at the end when you made it, so you want to be able to have something that can hold the pressure. You might want some steriliser to sterilise bottles, but when they're fresh, they're just good to go. You might want a little bit of yeast improver, that's like a yeast nutrient, and you're going to need some yeast. I have a particular champagne yeast there in the fridge. A little bag like this holds your ingredients, so the ingredients are here. We've got elderflower, so that's the elderflower base, of which we'll trim up in a minute and put it into this bag, and that'll go into your bucket there with the little tap on it. And other ingredients, we've got some lemons. So in a sec I'll prepare those ingredients for you, and as we pop it in the bucket we'll take another few shots there. Just a few little things about the elderflowers themselves. So here's the flowers, so I've just picked them off the shrub. It's quite a big shrub. It's quite an aggressive sort of thing in your garden, so watch where you put it. It can sort of sucker out and grow everywhere. So when you pick them, there's a lot of animals really get into these, and you'll have lots of little tiny spiders and bugs, so give them a really good shake out before you bring them inside. And all I do is just grab, just have a look there in the bucket. So then we just grab your flowers, just pluck off a piece like that, and then I just get the scissors and I literally just start to chop it off like this. So that's a bit of a rubbish bit. So just get it, you can be pretty rough, and I just cut them off like that. Just get the flowery bits. You will end up with a bit of stem and stuff, it's just what it is. So just get those little flowers like that. So when you've got a big bunch of those, so you can see in the bucket here, there's a whole pile of them. Have a look at that bucket. There's a whole big pile of flowers there. When you chopped all that up, that'll go into your little bag here, as such. And with that, we're going to add some lemon rind. And you can add anything, like you could put, in the past I've had stuff like raisins and other flavours, whatever you think's going to work. Anything works really. So go for your life. I'll come back to you in a minute. Right, now here we have the bag with the lemon rind, the elderflower. I'm going to pop that in because what I've got here is the juice, all that juice that I squeezed out of 2 lemons to 1.5. I'm going to pour that through that bag, just because I don't want any of the solids. And then I'm going to grab that bag and I'll just tie it off. Just stretch it out, tie it like that, so they all stay in the bag. Then I'm just going to add a little dash of cider vinegar. Not sure what that does. Some recipes call for it. Here's the sugar. So that's 1.2 kilos of sugar. So there's kind of a mixture of sugars, mostly white sugar, but there's a little bit of darker sugars in there. And I've got a little bit of yeast nutrient. And just going to put in a little not even a half teaspoon of that, just to help the yeast along. And then here I've got water. So this amount, I'm making up 6 litres here of brew, but I'm going to waste probably a litre in the process of making it. While I test it, I have a little hydrometer and I test the specific gravity of it. It tells me maybe how much alcohol's in it, but it also sort of tells me when the brewing's finished, and that's pretty useful for letting you know when the brews kind of stop brewing. If you put it in the bottles too active, you can blow up your bottles, so it's good to know that it's kind of finished brewing. So then I'm going to add 6 litres, so I won't bore you with all that while I add all that water. Okay, so the barrel has now been filled, and you just got to let that brew, sort of the primary brew, cool down so you can add your yeast. You only want to add it sort of at just above lukewarm, and you just kind of get your sachet. This is one from last year, but I think it's still going to be fine. And you just get it, and I just do what they call pitching it, and you just kind of scatter it all over the top like that, and just sort of do that, and that then now sits there and it starts to do its magic, and by tomorrow that will have already sort of started to form a mushy sort of a bit of a scum, and you'll see it starting to form a bit of a effervescence, and the brew process magic starts to happen. So we'll put this away now somewhere quiet. Usually keep the temperature reasonably constant. It's going to be around 20 odd degrees in this house, and we'll come back and we'll see how this progresses tomorrow. Rightio, now we've had our brew going for pretty much one day now, and it's all activating, so just have a look at what you're going to get here. Let's have a look in this barrel, and there's the brew, and you can see it's taken a bit of a colour on. There's a little bit of a fizziness going on. So we'll keep sort of doing that mixing process now for just a few days till the fizzing sort of starts to slow down, and then we'll start measuring it a bit on the hydrometer, and then we'll go for a bottle. That'll do for now. So if you're making some home brew, it might help to get yourself one of these as well. A hydrometer, they're pretty cheap from a brew shop. Not going to go into a lot of details, you can see that on the internet, but usually you measure your brew before you start it, and the amount of sugar will determine sort of the finished alcohol, and you sort of get a reading around here, and when it's finished off brewing, it's probably going to end up kind of dropping into this green zone here, and that'll give you an idea that the brew's finished. So I have this tube, which is what the hydrometer comes in, but you could get yourself a little 100ml flask like that, measuring cylinder, they're cheap. And just come over to the brew and I'll tap off a bit. And once that starts to rise, float, like that, and it just started to float up. You can see on the hydrometer where, so you can see it's just about up to that green mark. Thus, and it gives you some idea of how much longer you want to leave it, as well as if it's fizzing still. Right, today we are back at the brew here. Let's have a look at that. Looking in the bucket, you can see it's a bit of a scummy looking affair in there. There's the bag still. Won't stir it now though, because that'll change things. So we're about to bottle. So, one empty soft drink bottle. They last for a few fills if you wash them after you've had the drink. After a little while the plastic goes off and they start to give way. Okay, so I can just simply drain it out of this tap here, like that, and we just tap it off. Here we go, get our golden nectar. Hi there. There'll be a lot more grinning after drinking this stuff. So you probably don't want to fill it right to the top, so they do tend to, if the pressure's on, then we'll stop there. You can simply...
So it might explode. That's probably too much.
Voila! And that will take now some amount of pressure, and by tomorrow we'll know because the bottle will have expanded somewhat. This is the day when we've decided to open the brew for the first time. It can be a little bit fizzy, you never know, each brew is a bit different. It doesn't feel super powerful, it's about the same sort of tension on this bottle as perhaps a soft drink would be, but just in case, sometimes make sure they're nice and cold and maybe have a tray handy. Sometimes if the taste's a bit off, you just mix a bit of ginger cordial with it, or a bit of other cordial with it, whatever takes your fancy, and just turn it into, it's like a different kind of taste. Let's open this brew and have a look at what we got there. Not a lot of fizz there. Sometimes these things, so sometimes they'll literally escape the bottle. So that's, as we thought, had brewed out quite a long way. So that's fairly flat. So for a champagne brew, you can see there's only a tiny bit of fizz in that. It's very lightly fizzing, not much at all. And let's have a little taste there. Yeah, it's fair. It's not, it's Elderflower brew. Ali, would you like a taste? Have a taste? Is that pretty typical brew to you?
Yeah, it's typical. Tastes alright.
Yeah, it doesn't taste off or anything. It's just, it's not. Sometimes you get a really great brew and you go, wow, it's a beauty. And usually they're a lot gassier, but this one isn't so much. So anyway, that's how it works. That'll have plenty of alcohol in it, don't worry about that. And cheers.